sometimes things get really hard and really heavy, and it's easy to feel like you're not supported, or it's easy to slip into that darkness, and your brain gets to giving you all kinds of ideas about your reality, which may or may not be the truth. And sometimes that doesn't even matter. Sometimes we're just in a space where things are hard. So today we're going to have a real talk about some really hard things that I'm hoping will help individuals who are struggling to maybe feel a bit more supported, and those maybe who are trying to support those individuals, maybe build a little bit more understanding so that we can just create a space for everyone to carry the hard things that sometimes happen in life. Hello, fabulous. I hope today is treating you kindly. And in case it isn't, I'm hoping that today's real talk will support you and help you to align to something a little bit better, something that's more, that's a higher frequency and that will support you more. I'm going to be honest. This is a very hard video for me because I don't want to do it. I really, truly don't. But it has been requested of me. And so I will do hard things to support the people that are requesting this specific video for this specific level of support. So I was talking to some individuals recently who are struggling with some pretty significant and pretty heavy mental health stuff. And, the concept of, suicide came up, or that idea came up. And I feel that. Like, if people are in that space, for those of you who've never had that experience before of having suicidal ideations or thoughts or plans, or have engaged in self-harm before, it can be really hard to understand where someone's coming from when you don't have that perspective. And for those of you who've been there, like, I feel you in my soul. I get where you're coming from. It's like kind of like being in a dark pit by yourself, and it's really dark and it's cold and you're alone, and you can scream and yell for help all you want, but there's no one coming. Like, it feels so lonely and so terrible, and it's very difficult to get past all of that. Or sometimes it can be like being in a room by yourself, or even in a room full of people, and just feeling like no one hears you, and you're screaming at the top of your lungs and no one can hear you. No one can see that you're struggling. So if you're in that space, please don't feel weird about it. Like, I know it sucks being here, but you don't have to feel shame about that. You don't. I'm just telling you right now, as a person who had a similar experience, you don't deserve to feel shame. You just feel how you feel, and that's okay. I mean, even if it's not okay to feel the way that you feel because it feels yucky, it's okay that you feel the way you feel. There's no judgment here. Never judgment. So, context. So I have a pretty high ACEs score, so adverse childhood experiences. It's like a 10 out of 11, I think. So coming from a background where I wasn't seen or heard or honored or supported as a human being, was a challenge in and of itself. But then also having to survive in an environment where I was anxious all the time. Like, it wasn't so much that I was actively suicidal as a child, but I was totally okay with the idea of not waking up in the morning. Like, even as a real itty bitty, like 5 and 6 years old, I was okay with not waking up in the morning because it meant that I didn't have to be afraid all the time. So if you're in that space where that's your reality, where everything is so terrifying or so overwhelming or so, pick a word, and that's your reality all the time, and then no one sees you in that. Like, it didn't matter to anyone. Like, no one noticed that I was struggling. And what felt even worse is that nobody cared, because even if my parents, and I'm not saying they're horrible people, I'm just saying that they weren't equipped, even if they noticed that I was struggling, it would not have been okay. Like, I would have been defective, or wrong, or I would have needed to get fixed, because then I wouldn't have been the perfect little trophy child that I was supposed to be, right? So when that is your reality, and then you're just trying to survive in that and just navigate life, and you have no idea what you're doing, and you're just kind of using the models that are available to you, and basically, if you're me, doing the opposite of everything you see modeled for you. So it's exhausting. Like, you are constantly, your nervous system is amped all the time. And so it can be really difficult to cope with stuff when, even if it seems like it's not that big a deal stuff, when you're already activated all the time and you're exhausted and you just don't have it in you, to take on one more thing, one more challenge. So, already coming from a space where the only way that I could be loved or accepted was to perform flawlessly at all times. Like, that was the way that I stayed safe, was to, just basically fly under the radar, do everything that I could to keep the powers happy, and just try not to be noticed as best I could, and just keep everything to myself because no one knew. No one knew. And I'm not sure that there would have been capacity to support me even if they did know. So you pretend that everything's fine when it's not, because that's what you think you're supposed to do. That's what's acceptable, right? So I did that for a lot of years. And then as, I grew into an adult, I got sick. I got cancer when I was 25, and I did not do well with that experience. I mean, all things considered, it wasn't as bad as some people have it. And at the end of the day, we're not here necessarily to compare experiences. It's just we have the experiences that we have because, I don't know, reasons. But for me, it was extremely difficult. It wasn't like the worst diagnosis, worst treatment, any of that kind of stuff, but it was very hard for me to not be a whole human being. And the physical recovery was awful. Like, I just really, really struggled. And I was at a point, like, it was different when I was a child, because when I was a child, I didn't mind if I didn't wake up in the morning. It wasn't that I was actively suicidal or wanted to hurt myself or anything like that. It was just, if I didn't wake up one morning, like if something happened to me and I was no longer on this physical plane, I wouldn't be afraid anymore. So that felt like freedom. And so when that's the space you come from, and then you have something horrific happen to you that really disrupts your life, because I wasn't seen as a person. Like, I became my disease. That's all anybody saw. I had people literally run out of elevators screaming because, I just had surgery and I looked a little rough, but I didn't think it was that bad. Like, people would actively avoid me, like even nurses and stuff, like people trained clinically that know that you can't just get cancer by, existing in a room with somebody. I had to ride elevators by myself. It was terrible. Like, I felt really isolated. And so, having that childhood experience, and then as an adult, having the experience of basically being dehumanized because of a condition, that was hard. Like, that was hard. I was actively, like, I had a plan and I was going to execute. It was just a matter of when, and it didn't matter. Like, I was in a space where I had convinced myself that every single individual in my whole entire universe either wouldn't notice that I was gone or would be better off. I don't know necessarily that that's true, but when you're in that space, that's how you think. And I'm definitely not shaming. Definitely understand, I am not shaming anybody here. This is real stuff. This is just sharing a perspective from someone who has existed in that space, to kind of give context to people who maybe haven't been there, so that maybe they can hopefully understand and express maybe a little bit more compassion towards those folks that are struggling in this way. And for those who are struggling like this, you're not alone. You are very much not alone. You are in excellent company. As unfortunate as it is for us to exist in that space, you don't have to do this by yourself. Please don't. Like, I did so much of my healing alone that I'm really proud of what I was able to accomplish on my own. But what I have found is that we need companionship just in life in general. But your tribe will find you, your people will find you. I mean, honestly, the only reason that I'm still here doing what I do is I found a reason not to give up. I found, and it might seem small or insignificant to some people, but at the end of the day, when you're in that space, you find anything to cling to that will get you through this experience. I knew that the only being in my universe that wouldn't understand, that would not find a way to be okay with me transitioning, from the physical experience to non-physical, would be my dog. And that was very much true. There was no way that my sweet baby Jake was going to be okay if I passed. And that all by itself was enough for me to say, okay, what do I need to do to get through the next 24 hours? What do I need to do to get through the next, couple of minutes? What do I need to do? And once I made that transition, basically once I chose to live, that changed the game for me. And it made it easier for my brain to look for reasons to stick around. What do I need to do? How can I just survive this next few minutes? And just little by little, you take those tiny little steps. And little by little, you find a safe space or safe people to kind of help you carry that burden. You can find, therapists, or if you have employee assistance programs at your work, please utilize those. Friends, support groups. There's so many great books out there. Please, everybody go to therapy if you don't already go to therapy, especially if you have a high ACEs score, the adverse childhood experiences. If you have a high score like I do, please go to therapy. You need it. There is no judgment. Okay, if you broke your arm or you broke yourself some other kind of way, no one would bat an eyelash for you going and getting the care that you need to support yourself. That is literally the same thing for mental health. And if people around you don't see that, you just haven't found your people yet. I can be your people. Please go get the help you need. So all of this is kind of a long-winded way of saying that sometimes life hurts a lot, like brutally, and you feel like there's no way that you can get out of the experience that you're in, that you're just stuck and you're trapped and you're going to be here forever, and it feels very overwhelming. And for those that are in that space, I'm really sorry that that's happening to you. I really am. And you don't have to stay there. You get to choose. Even if it feels like you're choosing between not great sources or not great options, you still get the choice. This life can still look however you want. You can still be a blessing to other people. You can still be a blessing to yourself. You don't have to earn your worth. You don't have to earn your value. It's inherent. You deserve to be here because you exist. Just that's it. You deserve to be here. And however long you want to be here and what that looks like is entirely up to you. So I want to honor you in this space where you are, especially if it feels dark and lonely and cold and hard and all of the things. Like, I feel ya. I do. And as a person who's been there, I can tell you it doesn't have to last forever. Even if it feels like it does, even if you have to drag yourself along every single day to make it through until you don't. And by that, I mean, it no longer feels like you're dragging yourself through until you finally start getting to a space where maybe it's less horrible. You can get there. You can. And you don't have to do it by yourself. You don't have to do it by yourself. I am blessed to have found the right people at the right times and to be so well supported by so many individuals who are so invested in me just showing up as me. So thank you for those of you who are watching, who happen to be those people. You know who you are. And thank you to everyone who is watching, because Even if this isn't your reality, even if you're not going through some stuff, you probably know somebody who does. Whether they're saying it out loud to you or not, you probably know somebody who's going through some stuff. And if this does nothing else but helps to build that capacity for compassion for those individuals who are struggling, then mission accomplished. Because we're all here and we're all going through stuff. And it really does benefit everyone to just be kind, because I struggled for years and no one knew. No one had any idea. And being transparent about how I struggled and getting help for that was a huge step forward for me. It was definitely a lot of overcoming, because I felt like I should be able to do it myself. I should be the person that supports everybody and holds it all together. And I don't need this, or I'm weak, or I'm this, or no, none of that's true. None of that's true. None of it. Life gets heavy for everybody. It's okay to be supported in that, whatever that means for you. Whoever you need to walk with you through this journey, whether it's me or somebody else, please walk through this journey that is life with somebody. Your people will find you. Your people love you. There are people in this world that it matters so much that you exist. Whether you realize it or not, I promise you, your presence in this world right now is making a huge difference to somebody. It is, even if it doesn't feel like it. So, I really appreciate your time and attention. I know this video was hard. I know it was hard for me to record. It's definitely probably going to be hard and emotional for some of y'all to watch it. But just know that whatever you're going through, whatever's happening in your universe, whether it's hard or your life is amazing or whatever, just know that you are loved more than you could ever know, more than you could ever even realize or comprehend. And I'm so honored to be here with you, talking with you through all of the things, even if they're hard. So if you got stuff, please don't feel ashamed. Please get help. Please be supported. I'll link some other videos and some resources for you in the description box below. And I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me and sticking through this kind of tougher video with me. It's hard, but sometimes we have to do hard things in order to do what we need to do. So if this has been helpful, please do share this with people. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know how this might have helped you, or if there's other individuals in your universe that this could help. Please do, if you haven't already, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to stay up to date on all my current content. If you're new here, normally we're not this dark, and normally we're not dealing with stuff quite this heavy on this level. But sometimes you just have to do what you need to do because it's needed. Sometimes we just need to take care of our people, like I'm trying to take care of you. So thank you, with glitter on it, for hanging out with me today. And even if you're not feeling super sparkly right now, black glitter still sparkles. So thank you, with glitter on it, and you have a sparkly rest of your day.